Hi, and welcome to the help file for costs what if case. So this case is a reinforcement case, so there's no new Excel skills to learn in this case. Rather, it's a reinforcement of many of the skills and tools that you've learned previously with the hopes that it's going to increase your retention of these skills moving forward. So in this case, what we have is the 2020 analysis. So in 2020, an analysis was done looking at various items. So an item is a part number or a product number, the cost for the year 2020, so what it costs to make this item. And then we have the total cost, which is going to be the cost multiplied by the sales units. So you see here, generally what I like to do in these cases is take the cost and multiply by the sales units and see if I get the same number, 5,079,774, and it's actually different. So what that tells me is that some of the total costs in this column were not correct. So that's the first thing. When you have a set of data, you want to double check the mathematics. So when we do total sales, what we have here is we have total sales, but we don't have the sales price per unit. And that's okay, because I don't think we need it in this case. And then we have the profits. So the profits are going to be sales price minus the cost. And if we copy this down, we see the number changes here as well. And this is going to be important later. So now sales units are sales units. There's nothing to calculate there. And then the profit margin has a formula, which is D divided by E divided by D. So that's correct. All right. So now that we've corrected any mistakes in the data, so this is a lesson learned that when you get information, you should double check to see if what's being calculated is correct. And you should also check the sum field. So this is summing to 1625. So this is 1625. So this is correct. Now, you just want to make sure that if you do a summation, that it's going to be the entire length of the column, which these are all correct. Okay, so now that we've proofed our data here, the first thing it's going to ask us to do in the instructions is going to be breaking out the gross profits in bins. So we did this earlier in another case where we created a series of sum ifs to calculate the range of products that fall between a 0 and a 2% profit margin. So when let's calculate this one from scratch. I'm going to formulas, insert function, sum ifs. And then at the sum range, I want to sum sales dollars. And then the criteria one is going to be greater than 4%. And then this is criteria range. So what we want is, this is the criteria range. Criteria 1, greater than 4%. And then we're going to do criteria range 2. And then we're going to do less than 6%. Okay, done. Okay, so what that did, this is the formula builder. You can see the formula up here. And basically what I did was said, give me any of the profits between 4 and 8% profit margin. So these are the profit margins. So I was looking to find anything between 4 and 6% in this column. And it puts it in this bucket. So we're creating these buckets. So you may want to, what's a little bit more tricky about this, and I'm not going to show you, I want you to try to figure out how to do this on your own as a challenge, is how do you get it where you can make one formula and then copy it down? Because it won't work in its current sum if format because it's specifically tailored to that one cell. But there is a way, which I'm not going to say, if you choose to investigate it, it will save you a lot of time, where you can create a formula here and you can just easily copy it down so you don't have to edit the formula to keep changing the variables. Okay. Now, and remember that when you do create this, you want to make sure that you put in the correct format of currency for the total sales. And then you're going to create totals at the top. So you're doing this in bins of 2. And then the total percentage of sales, when you have the total sales up here, when you do a sum, you can also use we have this quick summation key here, which you could use to just get the formula easier. So if you create a sum here, then the percentages, the formula is already here. They show you calculate the percentage of sales total here. So that would be the 2% buckets, and then we have the 5% buckets, and then the 10% buckets. And then I want you to do it a second time using 2019 information. So once you calculate the formulas here, you should be able to copy them over to those other buckets. Okay, so now this is kind of analyzing where the profits fall, how many of our profits fall between these particular gross profit bins. Now, so the what if part is, this is what our profits are like with 2020 costs. What would our profits look like if our costs were back in the year 2019, 2018, 2017? So what you could do is, once you fill out this spreadsheet, you could copy this, go to a new tab, label it 2019 analysis, pop this over here, relabel this 2019 costs, perform a VLOOKUP, jump back here, so we want to use the item, table array, let's start over here. We'll use the column. It's always better to use the columns because that way you don't have to worry about drifting cells. We want column 2 and false. Okay, so let's see if this is correct. $3.57. $3.57. So that is correct. So we can copy this down, and now, so our new costs are in place. So we would expect the total cost column to be different, but I see here that the number is the same. So that's why you always have to double check. And what basically happened is the numbers got copied over, but not the formulas. So again, you're gonna have to recreate the formula. Total sales would be the same, and profits would be sales minus costs. So here we see, once we apply this, even the formula here, it's divided by sales. Okay, and now you see that this changes here, and then the formulas here are updated based on the new inputs. Oh, and these are also, these summations are gone here. So what I did is I copied over all the data, but not the formulas. So always double check to make sure that the information you're bringing over, don't just blindly assume that it's correct. Make sure you double check your numbers. Okay, so now we have a different profit margin. Okay, so that makes sense. So then you can continue to do this for 2018 and 2017. So I'm not going to actually do that because it's repetitive, but this is an easy way to take what you already have and not have to rework it too much. Just kind of copy over, and then you can use that structure. So we do 2018. So now I pasted it, instead of pasting just the values, I pasted everything. So I got the formulas in here, and I could update the, all I have to do really to update this is move it from 2 to column 3. So this 388, this is the second column here. And you see how you can't really tell because remember, you need to always, for all your tabs you work with, you want to freeze that top row. So when you get to this this material, we can see that's 2018, 2019, and then is 632. So we can go back here, bring this down, and we see all the numbers automatically update. But we still have to go in here and modify our titles for this. Now, I didn't ask you to have to put these years in bins as well, but since you have all the formulas, once you finish all the formulas for 2020, you're going to get the benefit of having that analysis go into the other buckets as well. And then you may even want to change the coloring up here so we don't get confused. To put a different color. And you can even go back to this cost page and sync the colors up. So if we use green, blue, and maybe 2017, we use purple. So that way when we do the 2017 page, we can put those purple tiles here. So that way it's a little bit easier color coding to know where you are in the particular years. Okay. So let's go to the memo and see. So in the memo, we talk about, we want you to do an analysis of the changing costs. What would our profit margins be if 2020 sales were matched with 2019, 2018, 2017 costs? Recalculate the profit margins, replace 2020 costs with the previous years. That's what I showed you to do down here. And use the costs in this cost field. Okay. Recalculate profit margins, group sales dollars by sum ifs in the bins. I kind of showed you how to do that. Give the number of unique items, group the number of unique items using COUNTIF in the bins of profit margins for 2, 5, and 10%. So COUNTIFs. Oh, okay. So actually over here, so this is sales. This is total items. So this is actually, should be 2020 total items. So this has the wrong year in it. So let me fix that. And I'll probably go ahead and just correct this in the case before you even see it. And then this should also have the same color. Okay. Undo that. All right, so that makes more sense. So we're looking total. So here we're looking for total items. So this would be a COUNTIF here, where these are looking for total sales. This is a sum if. Okay, so that makes more sense. So that you would correct that. So that way when you go to, say, 2019, yep, so these already are done. Okay, so that makes more sense. All right, so we're going to do the sum ifs on the total sales, between these percentages, then the COUNTIFs. And then use VLOOKUP to import the product code and group code classifications. And then use a pivot table to subtotal the data by product code and group code. Compare and contrast the results and create an executive summary. So the basic question is, how much change occurred in the gross profit margins after we inserted the previous year's costs? Okay, so actually, now that reading the total instructions, it would make more sense in 2020 to go in, insert 2 new columns here, and then go back here, product and group. So we have product code copy these, put these in here. And then do a VLOOKUP. All right. Oops, I have this. Oops, I think I spelled this wrong. There we go. Okay, so in this formula here, if I copy it here, now I get the second column. This just moves it over. That works too, but you could also, if you copy this, paste it in there. I'm just going to start from scratch, but you should be able to. Well, one trick I use sometimes, if I want to copy and paste a VLOOKUP, it's difficult because they tries to do a tracking flow on you. Sometimes what I will do is I'll go in here, copy, and then in a Word document, I'll paste it in here. So when I go back, I can actually go into Word, come back here, paste it in here. And then, because I just wanted this to change from a 2 to a 3. And that's, so let me just check this part to see if it's right. Use a control find. Okay, close. So we got power systems and part C chip. Okay, now that's correct. And I can just copy these down. Okay, so now that these are in here, I can do the pivot table and group it by these items. But more importantly, if I'm going to do the 2019 analysis, let me just redo this. I can go over here, copy, 2019, paste. So now in 2019, I'm going to have these columns already in here, and I just have to do the VLOOKUP to put in the new 2019 costs. And then all these formulas are already here, so those are all good. And then I would just update this to, actually what I could do is I could just highlight all these rows here, control find, 2020, place, 2019. Okay, so now they're 2019, and then I could go in and I can change the color to that green. And just fix all of these colors here. Okay. So now I'm ready to input the VLOOKUP on the 2019 costs, and everything will just pop in automatically. I'll have all my formulas here for all the columns. These will all calculate. So once 2020, wait till you completely finish 2020 before you copy it into 2019 and 2018. So then what you do, you just overwrite the cost field and everything else will fill in automatically. So then the last step you have to do is just to create a pivot table. So when you create a pivot table, these totals here can be a problem when creating the pivot table. So I would suggest, let's just copy this data, use another new tab. I'll just call it 2020 data. And I'll just paste that in here. And I'll delete this. So get out that's, so now when I do my control A and then insert pivot table, put this in a new tab, and then I could, what are they asking for here? Use pivot table as subtotal by data by product code and group code. So I could do group code, product code. So let me just do group code, and I could put in total costs, total sales, total profits, sales units. So this would be one category. So I want to go in here and change this over into a currency. Units is fine. And then I can insert, to calculate you could do that on the pivot table analyze. I can insert calculated field, and I want to create gross profit margin, or gross profit percentage, whatever you want to call it, it's fine. And I could calculate a formula, which would be profits divided by sales. Insert field. Oh. Okay. So now I have this percentages here, and we want to make that a percent. Okay. So, and then I could take that and I could go and maybe copy that on just paste that over here, back to my, actually label this 2020 pivot. This could be our sales analysis page. So I can go back here, and then I could go to product code. Get rid of that. So now I can have my product codes here as well, with my calculated field in there too. And take that, put that over here. And maybe this 2020 use that yellow color. Okay, so then over here I could do the 2019. So I can start creating these pivot tables to break out, and then I can compare how the sales and profits change between product code and product group. And you may even want to relabel these. Instead of just row labels, you could relabel these product code, product group. You can even put in 2020. Okay, so this is a nice little way to kind of put these pivot tables together, and I can actually go and I don't really need this tab anymore, so I can delete that tab. And let's hope, and this stuff will still stay here. So this way you can kind of double stack those pivot tables and do that again for 2019, 2018, 2017 on one sheet, and then that will help you to do the analysis. And then you could, once you have this data, you could make some various, which would be nice in the executive summary. You can make some charts. Maybe you just want to do the profits that we're analyzing. So we could say, let me highlight. No. I want to highlight this group, and then profits. Let's just Okay, I can highlight the 3 of these and then maybe insert it. Let's see. Maybe I'll do a stacked column. So this is various charts. You can do much better than this, I'm sure, but you can create various charts that you could use to compare, like create a series of charts, one for each year, and then you can kind of line them up in the executive summary to compare your how different things work out. I mean, you may want to just do, you can do some of these might be good to do a pie table. So then you can do a pie of showing the different product codes and how they stack up. So there could a whole bunch of different charts you can create when you do the executive summary. So the executive summary, you want to look at how did the gross profits change for all 3 years. So when you create the executive summary, put in your charts on there, of course, and then your analysis of how the change in the overall cost landscape for this company affected their profits moving forward, with the assumption that they didn't make any sales price changes on the sales per unit. Okay, so sorry, that was my cat interrupting me. So then you create the executive summary, intro, financial analysis recommendation with your charts, and you should be good to go. So this case I'm looking for to be a little bit more polished, since this is a reinforcement case of all your skills. And remember, whatever screens you do create, you still have to go and make sure that you have the proper formatting. You set up your print ranges, you freeze the top row, because these are all things that points will be taken off in, let's see, right here, freeze top row. So that way, otherwise, if you don't do that and you don't set your print ranges, or if you don't have your currencies correctly with no change, or see here, units as a $sign, that would be something that would be bad, and you want to switch this to percentile, no change. So all the typical formatting should be done to make this look as nice as possible, because it's towards the end of the class now, so I'm expecting things to be a lot more polished and professional when you put this case together and have a fairly decent executive summary. Okay, so I hope you found this video helpful in completing this case. I look forward to seeing and grading your work. Thank you.